AstroVastu Blueprint for Scorpio Rising, Vṛścika Lagna Mars Ketu Depth, Water Fire Alchemy, Privacy-Powered Living Spaces. 1 First House, Lagna Zone, Containment of Power. Scorpio Rising is ruled by Mars with Ketu as its shadow co-ruler. This makes the home an energetic container, not a display. Scorpio does not lack strength. Scorpio destabilizes when intensity leaks without transformation. When the overall house lacks containment, the effects are severe but internal. Emotional overload, chronic distrust, explosive anger or total withdrawal, sexual frustration or guilt, hormonal, reproductive, or elimination disturbances. The Lagna zone must feel sealed, intentional, and energetically dense. If the house feels exposed or porous, Scorpio remains perpetually defensive. Number 2. Second house, main entrance, boundary gate. This zone governs who and what is allowed into Scorpio's inner life. East allows conscious control over identity and intent. North allows strategic engagement without emotional compromise. When the entrance is transparent, loud, or overly decorative, boundaries weaken, emotional invasion increases, vigilance never switches off. A solid, understated entrance restores Scorpio's primal safety. I decide what enters. Pair 3. Third house, living room, controlled interaction zone. This space governs how Scorpio engages socially without exposure. Scorpio requires defined edges in social spaces. Open plan visibility from entrance to seating creates energetic violation. When aligned, social interaction feels optional, not forced. Control over engagement remains intact. Emotional reserves are preserved. When misaligned, feeling invaded, irritability during interaction, withdrawal or dominance patterns. This zone teaches Scorpio how to engage without bleeding energy. Hannah 4. Fourth house, inner emotional reservoir. This zone governs how emotional intensity is stored. Scorpio emotions are deep and cyclical. Chaotic layouts, excessive light, or reflective surfaces overstimulate the psyche. If disturbed, emotional volatility, paranoia, difficulty trusting even familiar spaces. When stabilized, this zone allows emotions to settle and ferment into insight. 5. Fifth house, desire, creativity, and controlled expression. This zone governs how Scorpio expresses passion. Scorpio's creativity is intense and private. Forced openness or flamboyance fragments desire. When balanced, sexual and creative energy stabilizes. Expression becomes potent, not compulsive. Confidence deepens quietly. When blocked, suppressed desire, guilt, or compulsion, power struggles. Pair 6. Sixth house, kitchen and disciplined fire. For Scorpio rising, fire governs anger, libido, willpower. Fire must be channeled, never scattered. When aligned, anger becomes focused action, libido stabilizes, physical vitality improves. When misplaced, rage spikes. Emotional volatility, chronic tension. This zone determines whether Mars becomes destructive or transformative. 7. Seventh house, master bedroom, power regeneration chamber. This is the most critical zone for Scorpio rising. Here, power either regenerates or decays. When disturbed, chronic exhaustion, emotional paranoia, sexual imbalance, fragmented sleep. When aligned, deep rest, emotional trust returns, sexual energy renews cleanly. This is where Scorpio reclaims power without warfare. 8. Eighth house, storage, secrets, and psychic residue. This zone governs hidden emotional material. Scorpio is acutely sensitive to unresolved residue. Clutter here amplifies psychic noise. When balanced, emotional clarity improves, intensity softens, insight sharpens. When neglected, obsession, suspicion, mental heaviness. 9. Ninth house, truth, ethics, and inner law. This zone governs how Scorpio frames meaning and morality. Without coherence here, intensity turns rigid or destructive. When aligned, power aligns with ethics, insight matures into wisdom, control feels purposeful. When blocked, dogmatism, distrust of guidance, internal conflict. And 10th house, work from home and strategic command. This zone governs how Scorpio exercises authority in the world. Scorpio thrives in environments of total control and focus. When aligned, strategic thinking sharpens, power is exercised quietly, authority feels unchallenged. When misaligned, micromanagement, burnout, paranoia around competence. Nash 11, 11th house, alliances, loyalty, and trust. This zone governs selective social bonds. Scorpio needs loyalty, not popularity. When balanced, alliances feel secure, trust deepens, support systems stabilize. When blocked, social withdrawal, distrust, power struggles. 12th house, Alchemy, release and inner mastery. This zone teaches Scorpio the core lesson. Intensity becomes wisdom when witnessed, not acted. It governs inner alchemy, emotional release, deep regeneration. When aligned, peace emerges without weakness, obsession dissolves, mastery replaces control. When disturbed, emotional implosion, escapism, psychic fatigue. Core AstroVastu principle for Scorpio rising. AstroVastu for Scorpio is about protecting power before transforming it. When your home seals the southwest, controls access through the entrance, channels fire through the southeast, keeps the northeast sacred. Mars expresses as controlled strength, Ketu expresses as inner mastery, and Scorpio finally experiences peace without vulnerability. AstroVastu Blueprint for Scorpio Rising, Vṛścika Lagna. Mars Ketu depth, water, fire, alchemy, privacy-powered living spaces. 1. First house, Lagna zone, containment of power. For you as a Scorpio rising, the home is not an expression. It is a container of power. Mars gives raw force, Ketu gives withdrawal, depth, and severance. You do not lack intensity. You suffer when intensity leaks without transformation. When the overall house feels exposed, porous, or visually penetrable, your system stays on guard. Emotional overload builds. Distrust becomes chronic. Anger erupts or collapses inward. Sexual and hormonal rhythms destabilize. Sleep and elimination suffer. I always emphasize this for Scorpio. Your Lagna zone must feel sealed, not dark, contained. Defined edges, intentional placement, and visual density allow your energy to stay within your control. If the house invites too much visibility, your power fragments and turns defensive. When it feels held, intensity settles into presence. 2. Second house, main entrance, boundary gate. This is where you decide what is allowed in. For Scorpio rising, the entrance is a boundary mechanism, not a welcome mat. East allows conscious control over identity and intent. North allows strategic engagement without emotional compromise. When the entrance is transparent, loud, brightly exposed, or overly decorative, boundaries weaken. Emotional invasion increases. Vigilance never switches off. I advise a solid, understated entrance. Quiet strength, not display. The door should feel firm, the transition inward deliberate. This threshold must communicate one thing clearly: I decide what enters. 3. Third house, living room, controlled interaction zone. This space governs how you engage socially without exposure. You require defined edges here. Open plan visibility from entrance to seating creates energetic violation for you, even if it looks modern or appealing. You need control over sightlines, seating orientation, and access. When aligned, social interaction feels optional, not forced. You engage on your terms. Emotional reserves stay intact. When misaligned, you feel invaded. Irritability rises during interaction. You may swing between withdrawal and dominance. This zone teaches you how to engage without bleeding energy. 4. Fourth house, inner emotional reservoir. This is where your intensity is stored. Your emotions are deep, cyclical, and regenerative when undisturbed. Excessive light, chaotic layouts, mirrors, or reflective surfaces overstimulate your psyche and keep emotional waters churning. When disturbed, volatility appears. Suspicion grows. Trust in even familiar spaces weakens. When stabilized through depth, muted tones, and reduced stimulation, emotions settle and ferment into insight rather than reaction. This is where you regain emotional sovereignty. 5. Fifth house, desire, creativity, and controlled expression. This is how your passion finds form. Your creativity and sexuality are private, potent, and focused. Forced openness, flamboyance, or performative expression fragments desire and turns intensity into compulsion or guilt. When balanced, sexual and creative energy stabilizes. Expression becomes potent rather than repetitive. Confidence deepens quietly. When blocked, desire suppresses or leaks through power struggles. This space reminds you that restraint is not repression, it is concentration. Sixth house, kitchen and disciplined fire. For Scorpio rising, fire governs anger, libido, and willpower. Fire must be channeled, never scattered. The kitchen determines whether Mars becomes destructive or transformative. When aligned, anger refines into focused action. Libido stabilizes. Physical vitality improves. When misplaced or chaotic, rage spikes, tension accumulates, and emotional volatility becomes chronic. This zone trains your fire to serve transformation instead of conflict. 7. Seventh house, master bedroom, power regeneration chamber. This is the most critical zone for you. Here, power either regenerates or decays. If disturbed, chronic exhaustion sets in. Emotional paranoia grows. Sexual imbalance appears. Sleep fragments. Even intimacy feels unsafe. When aligned, deep rest returns. Emotional trust rebuilds. Sexual energy renews cleanly, without obsession. This is where you reclaim power without warfare. 8. 8th house. Storage, secrets, and psychic residue. This zone holds what is unseen. You are acutely sensitive to unresolved residue, objects, memories, unfinished emotional material. Clutter here amplifies psychic noise and mental heaviness. When balanced, emotional clarity improves, intensity softens, insight sharpens. When neglected, obsession, suspicion, and mental weight increase. Clearing this space is not about order, it is about psychic hygiene. 9. 9th house. Truth, ethics, and inner law. This space governs how you frame meaning. Without coherence here, intensity turns rigid. Power becomes destructive. Distrust of guidance deepens. When aligned, power aligns with ethics. Insight matures into wisdom. Control feels purposeful rather than compulsive. This zone ensures that your strength answers to inner law, not impulse. 10. 10th house. Work from home and strategic command. This is how you exercise authority. You thrive in environments of total control and focus. When aligned, strategic thinking sharpens. Power is exercised quietly. Authority feels unchallenged because it is internally anchored. When misaligned, micromanagement appears. Burnout follows. Paranoia around competence grows. This space must support quiet command, not constant vigilance. 11. 11th house. Alliances, loyalty, and trust. This zone governs selective bonds. You do not seek popularity, you seek loyalty. When balanced, alliances feel secure. Trust deepens. Support systems stabilize. When blocked, withdrawal increases. Distrust dominates. Power struggles replace cooperation. This space teaches you that chosen bonds are stronger than controlled ones. 12th house. Alchemy, release, and inner mastery. This zone holds your highest lesson. Intensity becomes wisdom when witnessed, not acted. It governs inner alchemy, emotional release, and deep regeneration. When aligned, peace emerges without weakness. Obsession dissolves. Mastery replaces control. When disturbed, emotional implosion, escapism, and psychic fatigue appear. Here, surrender is not loss, it is transmutation. AstroVastu for Scorpio Rising is about protecting power before transforming it. When your home seals the southwest, controls access through the entrance, channels fire through the southeast, and keeps the northeast sacred, Mars expresses as controlled strength, Ketu as inner mastery, and you finally experience peace without vulnerability.